The James Webb Space Telescope's launch date has been pushed back to no earlier than December 22nd, following an anomaly that occurred during launch prep in French Guiana. The incident occurred on November 9th at the French Guiana Launch Center when Arianespace technicians were getting ready to attach Webb to the launch vehicle adapter. So far, things had been proceeding according to plan. Webb was delivered on October 12th following a 2-week voyage at sea. It was unboxed and inspected, and then a battery of functional tests were performed to ensure it made the journey safely. The next steps were to mount Webb onto its payload adapter, which is a cone-shaped structure that's eventually bolted to the Ariane 5 upper stage. The observatory is secured to the payload adapter with a spring-loaded clamp band. Now, it's weird to think that an 11-meter tall spacecraft is being held in place with a small metal band a few inches tall, but yeah, that's how it works. Anyway, the band springs open about a half hour after liftoff. It does this with actuators that are designed to release very rapidly, but also very smoothly so as not to rattle the spacecraft. While this band was being tightened, it suddenly sprang open, and evidently it did so in a way that it wasn't supposed to, and this sent vibrations into the base of the spacecraft. Now the good news is that nobody was hurt because the clamp has safety features built in that prevent it from becoming a projectile. And, even better, there was apparently no visible damage to the observatory either. However, the incident did send vibrations into the observatory. Now, Webb has been rattled before. While it was at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, the assembled telescope was tested on a shake table that mimicked those of the launch vehicle. While it was at Northrop Grumman, it was subjected to further acoustical testing to make sure it could withstand the sound vibrations of launch. There was even an earthquake in California right before it was transported, and while Webb was on board the ship, it was encountering some moderate waves. But when those events occurred, Webb was hooked up to vibration centers that engineers could monitor to make sure that none of the flight hardware was rattling outside of their design limits. But all of those sensors had been removed as part of launch prep, so when this anomaly occurred, there was no way to know just how hard things were shaken. As soon as the anomaly happened, NASA stopped all launch prep operations and convened an anomaly review board to investigate. Engineers tried to estimate the amount of energy that could have been transferred into the observatory when the clamp band released. Most of that energy would have gone into the spacecraft bus, which is located at the bottom of the observatory. The bus houses the main subsystems that support the observatory. Things like electrical power, attitude control, communications, command and data handling, propulsion, and thermal control subsystems are all located there. It seems like it should be easy enough to check, but Webb is folded up and closed out for launch. To check everything, they'd have to open Webb back up and install the necessary testing equipment. And not only is that labor intensive, but anytime you test hardware, there's always a risk of causing further damage. So the testing has been underway for some time now, but it's proceeding slowly and carefully. Until this point, NASA was on track for a December 18 launch. They had 2 weeks of schedule reserves remaining, but they used up that time, plus a few extra days while they tested everything. On November 20th, the Anomaly Board decided that, out of an abundance of caution, there should be additional testing done on some of the subsystems. So that's why NASA announced that Webb's launch will now be delayed to no earlier than December 22nd. They're going to need a few more days to complete the extra testing, and they'll hopefully make another announcement soon. Now, obviously, none of this is good news, but it does make sense to take an extra few days to make sure everything still works. After all, there's no way NASA is going to let a $10 billion telescope launch without knowing whether it's good to go. So hopefully everything goes well with these remaining tests, and the review board releases Webb to proceed with flight prep. And that'll include getting its fuel loaded on board, which will be used to maintain its orbit throughout its mission, which hopefully is going to last the next 10 years or so. After that, Webb will be integrated on top of the Ariane 5 rocket and encased in its launch fairing and lift off on December 22nd, fingers crossed. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'd also like to thank my Patreon supporters for keeping Launchpad Astronomy going, and I'd like to welcome Richard Baker, Dushyant Inguva, Dallas, and LT Marshall as my newest supporters. And if you'd like to join me on this journey through this incredible universe of ours, well, please make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Until next time, stay curious, my friend.